my yes list for the Zoom responses. So just give me a second to pull that up. I have Jean Ott. Okay, and I'm also taking quick roll call notes, so just bear with me. Unless Cheryl or Nicole, could you take the names as I say them?
Yep, I'm typing.
Okay, so Jean Ott is not with us yet. Mm-hmm. We have Gertrude Banks.
Yes.
And we are live now, Rachel, right? Okay, thank you. Do we have Joan Robichaud yet? Okay, not yet for Joan. We have Lloyd Huey.
Yes.
Present.
Yeah.
And I saw we have Lindsay Neffinger is present.
Yes, I'm here.
And Reverend Hatch is present. And Miss Tanisha is present.
Yep.
Yay, Tanisha.
Hello, Tanisha. And I think I saw Miss Wendy. No, we said Miss Helmkamp is not on yet. Okay. And Mr. Cushman, we know, is here with us.
Yep.
And Miss Evans is here. And Chief Bolter is here.
Yep.
And for the record of those invited that could not make it tonight, are Angelica Soto, Tommy Soto, and we also had unavailable Miss Clark Flanagan.
She's here.
I saw she is here.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm here. I'm so sorry.
Here you are. Okay, thank you. And also we have Mr. Kelly. Chris Kelly is here with us.
Yeah.
We do not have Matt Curtis. We do have Diana Yaisley is present. Mm-hmm. And I saw that Mr. Nkosi Lee just joined us. And I believe, did we see Mary Margaret Giorgenti? She said yes, but I don't see her yet. Okay, so she is not here. Maxine Robinson Lewin has not been able to join us tonight. And Nicole Kodak is here. Cheryl Cook is present. Kristen Formanak is present. Rachel Loveland is our host tonight. Rosemary Hargrove is not with us. Miss Sarah Batchelder is not with us.
She is with us.
She is with us.
Oh, she's here. Yeah.
Sarah, right. We talked about your haircut. Thank you. And Miss Hamrock Lemke was able to join us. And I believe that's it for our list.
Kristen, I'm going to be the central office contact, so I don't think Matt was ever officially on Spirit Council.
Okay, we can take him off, then won't be getting bombarded with our emails on his inbox.
I get to keep him apprised.
I asked him previously, and he was like, well, I like to be kept informed. And
Yeah.
he can help.
All right, we'll make that change. Thank you.
No problem.
I think Kristen is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yes, so don't laugh. This is the flag that I use when I'm at home. So we've got the baby flag from the parade. So if we could all stand.
Okay.
Is that pants on?
Yeah.
I pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great.
Thank you.
Guys, hey, you guys, do you know when Under God was put in? It was put in the 50s.
Okay. We're going to move on to the calling the meeting officially to order. Kristen, can you confirm there were no public comments that we need to read aloud?
Yes, that was confirmed with the town clerk's office. No official public comments or questions this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. We're now going to move on to the update from the chairs, and Nicole is going to go first.
We have had a lot going on, which has been very exciting, as you know, and we're poised to have our Board of Selectmen update and presentation on Tuesday. It is I'm happy to share that the Board of Selectmen has gone through their goal-setting process in a 3-hour meeting, and they set 25 of their goals as their top goals, and they prioritized by voting, by spreading 100 points however they wished, and Spirit came out to be number 3 out of the 20.
Oh, wow.
So we are going to get support and a lot of collaboration, which is wonderful. We have seen a lot of exceptional work being done by groups like Holding the Door Open and other groups that are community, and it's exciting to participate with them. It has also been really good for some great dialogues lately to really tackle what is the lane that Spirit Council will operate in. And so we've had a lot of discussions about that role going forward, and the town does plan to incorporate Spirit in all matters impacting diversity, equity, and inclusion. That's already starting to happen. And so we're asked to develop the banner that's up, and we're partnering with Holding the Door Open on a public art project and installation. So we're really excited about some of the momentum we're building. All the work that the subcommittees have been doing that we're going to talk about tonight is really starting to build. And so we have a lot going forward, and it's about to get clear as we transition to the town committee, how we operate, how we structure ourselves, and how we spread the workload to keep pushing it forward as a town committee. So that's exciting. That's my piece, and I was excited to share it.
Thanks, Nicole.
Thanks.
I'm just going to back up what Nicole said. We'd like to especially thank the events committee for getting the Let's Talk series going. It's been terrific. And we've had a lot of participation, and people are starting to notice. And we are looking forward to a full slate of events. Another one will happen next week. And we're very excited about that. And I'm sure we're going to hear about that in the subcommittee updates. And as we move into this transition period to a regular town committee, both Nicole and I just want to thank all of you for all of the time and effort that you have put into this up until now. I know it's been frustrating at times, but I think as we transition into the town structure in a more formal way, as Nicole said, we're going to get a lot of support because now we've gotten some recognition from the Board of Selectmen, and the Board of Ed has been very supportive and been our partner in this work. So as we move into this, we'd just like to remind all of you that we have to continue to be prepared for these meetings. We have a limited amount of time to meet, as we've been telling you. So it's really important that you read the information that we send you ahead of time, the minutes, the agenda, any attachments, because we're not going to have a lot of time during our limited public meetings to go over all that. And we'd like to focus on specific questions and issues that might have arisen as a result of your reading and contemplating about what we've sent you. So we just want to reiterate that we respect your time commitment, and we want everybody to respect everybody else's time commitment by being prepared when we go forward. And as we move into a town committee, there's going to be even more things for us to talk about. So it's really important that we stay focused on the work in front of us. So anyway, I just want to thank you all again for everything you've done up until now, and big changes are afoot. So the first thing we're going to do as an action item is, and I hope you've all reviewed the minutes of our June 25th meeting. Does anybody have any changes or additions to the minutes? If you do, wave your hand. Rachel will acknowledge you. Okay, seeing none, the minutes will stand as presented. You all should have gotten a copy. The next item is to review the Spirit presentation to the Board of Selectmen on September 29th. You all got a copy. I hope you had a chance to review it. Each subcommittee worked very hard on coming up with their slides in the presentation, so we're not going to go over all that slide by slide unless you have a specific question. I will entertain a motion to accept the slide presentation for the Board of Selectmen to move forward. If somebody would like to make that motion.
So moved.
Is there a second? Thank you. Is there any discussion on the slides?
Thank you. Is all in favor? Please raise your hand. Any opposed? Okay, terrific. That passes. That will be the presentation presented to the Board of Selectmen on September 29th.
Quick question, who motioned? I'm sorry, I didn't catch it.
It was Diana, I think.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, our next action item is discussing the town resolution to declare racism a public health crisis, and Tanisha is going to present that action item.
Okay, so again, as Cheryl said, you guys should have read over the resolution. This was a work of Wendy, Sharon, and Sharon Thomas. I'm not sure if you guys know who she is, and myself. We all worked on this together, trying to put together something for the town to recognize that racism is a public health crisis, and what can we do as a town to be able to move the needle in that direction of resolving those issues. And some of it may, if you look at the resolution, it's going to call for us to do work as the Spirit Council in terms of how we're looking at collecting data that's in the town, policy and procedures, hiring, all of that stuff. That's very important to us, and making sure that we aren't creating a negative impact where we shouldn't be. Mm-hmm. And Wendy, if there's anything additional that you think that I may have missed, please feel free to jump in.
Thanks, Tanisha. The only thing that I would add is that while it's coming from the Spirit Council, it's broad enough, if you've read it, to really apply to all different committees and councils in town. So I just want to make sure that that's I hope that's clear when you read the resolution, that it's anyone who's working on these different issues related to equity that results in negative impact on health outcomes. It's all in. That's the intention of it.
Tanisha, if I could just add quickly, I understand from the town manager's office that they are going to have some data from the Farmington Valley Health District to present to the selectmen along with the proclamation. So there will actually be data available to the public and to the selectmen to back up essentially what we're saying, even though we all knew that to be true.
Right. And that's great to hear. So we're just, we're going to present this at the next BOS meeting and hope that it gets passed.
So we're going to ask to approve it, the council to approve it before we move it forward.
So I'll make a motion to approve it, unless there's any.
Okay, so Nicole's made a motion to move the proclamation forward as written. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you. Okay. Is there any further discussion?
Diana.
Okay. Not hearing any.
Diana.
All in favor, please
No, I
raise
have
your
a
hand.
question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I just had a quick question because I'm loving the language in this, and I'm hoping that one of the goals in presenting this is so that the work of our group to be expanded, and it's discussion I had just recently with someone that potentially additional subcommittees or some like specific work that we can do regarding education, but also housing and diversifying our community here. And I'm hoping that's the point of this, so that we can expand our work and really have plans spelled out from this document that we can then present and maybe partner with other organizations. So is that, I just want to be clear, like that is one of the points of this resolution. Okay.
It absolutely is. And that has been my discussion with Board of Selectmen members, more particularly our first selectman, and it is his intention, I believe, to have the Spirit Council lead the way on recommendations on moving forward with this work. And they are looking for specific ways that they can support this.
Right.
So we are going to come back, this is going to be a living thing for us. So it's not going to be put on the shelf to be ignored. So.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. So is there any further discussion on the matter? Okay. All in favor, please raise your hand signifying aye. Okay. Is there anybody opposed? Okay. Thank you. We'll move forward to the Board of Selectmen. Kristen, did you have a question?
No, I just wanted to ask if everybody had a chance to also read the document that I sent kind of late this afternoon. And what was that title? Let me just grab my notes. It was on
Health equity.
the Connecticut Health Equity Solutions, and it was a document that was forwarded us from the Farmington Valley Health District, which really helped to outline how racism is causing health inequities and how it is a public health concern.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be attached with your resolution, and I just wanted to share that in case you didn't get to see it today.
Great. So everybody make sure you look at that. So that will help us with moving our work forward. Okay. Nicole is going to take up the next action item.
Yes, I am. Yes. So we have been managing a lot of work. A lot of it's behind the scenes. We're trying to get organized and a clear sense of what is our lane and what can we do in this weird time of COVID and distance meeting. Not quite a town committee, but about to become one. But to help us get a lot of this work done, we wanted to expand our chair structure and into something that was thoughtful and able to be carried over for when we're a town committee as well to help the momentum. And so we had really noticed the area that we could use the help was in the taking the resolution to the action level to break it into chunks with our council. And so I would like to nominate Tanisha Grant to be our vice chair to help us go forward from here into the town committee and then get us started beyond.
I'd like to second that.
Would anyone like any discussion?
Is there any discussion?
Then let's vote. All in favor, raise your hand. Anyone opposed? Passes unanimously. Welcome aboard.
Yay, our vice chair.
Thank you.
And thank you for your help.
Thank you. Okay. And number 5.
And I don't know the procedure here, but I would like to just say in support of Tanisha, one of the reasons that I think that she would be an amazing choice at any administrative level that moves her up is that she speaks truth to power, like she tells it like it is. And so I always appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Thanks, Carol.
Okay. Nicole, you want to take number 5?
I've been on this computer too much today. I'm pushing all kinds of buttons. Hold on. My back. Okay.
Okay.
Yes, we know that as we start our work, we're anticipating becoming a town committee on Tuesday if the Board of Selectmen approves that. And we're going to need to have some organizing and homework, and we're all, as a committee, to structure and organize ourselves, and also goal setting. So we originally were trying to schedule a special meeting for goal setting. And by the time, so what's going to happen is on Tuesday, we're hoping after our presentation, the board votes to approve us as a town committee. Their next meeting is October 14th. That is when they will probably appoint members, and then we'll do a virtual swear-in process. We do anticipate everyone who has been active on this council to continue if you're interested. And I think Cheryl's going to talk to you about that in a minute. So our next meeting, really after we know who the members are going to be and able to make the commitment and be sworn in, will be our November 2nd meeting. And that will be our first meeting as a town committee. That's our hope and our plan. So in that meeting, for setting goals, rather than try to cram in a special meeting between those two dates, do we want to devote some time to that meeting specifically for goal setting as we set out from this juncture, having come this far and then pivoted to a town committee? I just wanted to ask, you guys to think about, we can do pre-work to make it efficient, but to set aside some of that time to specifically address goals. And then my second question is, Chris, you were so good the first time we did this. I'm wondering if you have any thoughts or would be willing to support us doing that going forward.
Yes, I'd be willing to help, Nicole.
Great.
I'll have to work with you to figure out how you want to structure stuff, but yes.
Great. Okay, thank you. All right. And thank you very much. And so there's nothing that we need to vote on or anything, but what we'll do is then set that into the agenda for November 2nd, like a good chunk of time for us to do some more goal setting. And it probably will not be our last goal setting session either. Nkosi.
So is the goal setting, is that something that we'd be meeting as our subcommittees and coming up with goals as subcommittees, or are we doing that in the large arena as we are now? How is there a specific format that we're working with when we do that?
That's a good question.
It would be this format that we have going now, Nkosi. It would be a public meeting. We're already on the calendar for that. And it would include everybody here everybody who wants to continue on a town committee level. And we would just have to decide how much time we set aside in the meeting, whether we do half an hour, whether we do an hour, and still get the rest of whatever we have to do done. But I think it would be efficient for us to use some regular meeting time to do that, because we already have it set up, and it's probably the earliest possible time that we can all do that together in a public way. Kristen, you can stop me if I'm wrong.
No. Yeah, I was just going to jump in and say, you are correct. And then when it's my turn to speak and talk about becoming an official committee, I'll share with you why that might be the soonest that you can get back together. But I just wanted to interject and say that, two things. You are scheduled to meet that night if Zoom is available and if the channel is available. We could possibly run you as a special meeting and start at 5 if people are available. And that would give you a little bit more time that night. And then at 6, you could flip into your regular steering committee meeting. But I'd have to check and see if the TV channels are available that night.
Okay. Does anyone else have any more comments or questions about that?
Cheryl, this is Nick. I have a comment.
Hi, Nick.
Hi. I think Nkosi was getting at, I think, a good sort of direction if we can go in that, some sort of a subcommittee or working group. Because I think there's going to be a lot of questions and people wanting to get a lot of information out there, their opinions. And I think that it may help to sort of narrow that down in a sort of a working group at first. Mm-hmm. I don't know if we want to go with any of the existing groups or, possibly create some other groups, but I think it may be more productive when we get to the actual meetings to have a few other opportunities. Just a suggestion.
Yeah, no, that's a good suggestion. I'm just thinking out loud here, but is there a way, and Kristen, stop me if I'm going off the rail here, but that we can, before the meeting, have everybody, maybe write down some thoughts, areas of focus. It can relate to your subcommittee that you're on or matters in general, and get those to Chris so that he can start the compilation process, perhaps. Like I said, I'm just thinking out loud here.
My one thought on that is I love that idea, but I'm recognizing in what Nkosi and Nick are saying that a lot of times it's in the dialogue that new things will come up or something will be refined beyond what you would think of on your own. So I kind of do like the idea of meeting just to brainstorm goals. I'm wondering if we do that another time or if we do that at 5 o'clock that night. But I just like the idea of just specifically gathering to brainstorm goals, given where we've been, where we are now, where we want to go, kind of thing.
My one suggestion is that before you decide if you want to have separate meetings or if you want to try to do it that night, is to maybe let the group hear my information about what it takes to have a meeting and what the availability would be for that. That might inform their decision. But I can agree with either way. I see the value of having your smaller groups come up with some goals, and I also see that people could potentially submit their own, and we can organize it and then meet early that night. So it's really, up to the group.
Okay. Anybody else thoughts on that? Yeah, Rebecca?
I just want to, one of the minor frustrations that the data subcommittee at least has run up against is not really knowing what the conversations have been in the other subcommittees. And so at this point in our journey, I agree that drilling down to specific goals might be worth doing in a working group, but I would love for our next meeting about honestly anything to be together so we can hear from each other, just finally get a chance to reverberate off of one another, which we've been missing. Not necessarily to come up with the final product. I think there's a couple ways to, go about that, but I'd love to get all of our voices back in the same room and then maybe have a working group that sort of peels off.
So, Tanisha?
I would suggest that as folks are as we decide what it is that we are going to do, that you look at the resolution and let that be a guide for you in terms of what goals you think that the council or the committee should be focusing on. Then that way, it won't be as much work for Mr. Kelly to try to compile everything together, because we'll have a framework from which we're working from. Even if we're doing it individually, I'm quite sure everyone can come up with goals that they think when looking at the resolution, it would make sense for us to do X, Y, and Z. And then that can help steer our conversation when we do get to talk about goals.
Okay. So I'm hearing maybe we could put those two ideas together and, as Rebecca said, use our first meeting on the 2nd, whether we get extra time or not. And if we have extra time, certainly we will take it, to have us all together in one room, so to speak, to sort of flesh out the main groups of ideas, because I know they're going to kind of break down into different segments as they did before. And it will be interesting to see how this has changed from when we did this, over a year ago when we first started, to see where we are now. And then based on what we come up with as a group, then maybe break out for our next meeting and do a similar format, leave goal setting, but perhaps let the subcommittees either break in chats or come on at different times or do something like that.
Cheryl?
Yes.
Yeah, I do think what's naturally going to emerge is a multi-stepped process that won't begin and end in one evening. Yep. And I think, mapping out what potentially might be a process is really the most important first stage. So, part of what I can try to do is talk with a few people and put something together. Tanisha, I really like the idea of using the proclamation as a guide. I also think it's important that we use the work that was done last summer and all of the reports that were generated as a guide, because that's really the wellspring that's led to today as well. So I think both of those documents provide a really nice guide along the way. So I'll try to map out a potential process and have people comment on it.
Great. Okay. Just don't send it to everybody all at once. Okay. So we're going to move on to subcommittee reports since we've just touched on our different subcommittees.
Cheryl?
Yeah. Sorry.
No. So how does Chris do it if he can't send it to everyone?
He's going to have to go ahead, Kristen.
So yes, he absolutely can send it to everyone. He can send it to me and I can send it to everyone. The golden rule, which I really will just reinforce right now for you, is that if you receive something by email and it's to the whole entire group, just please don't reply to all, because if you start replying to all and it happens too many times, it can be misconstrued as an actual meeting, and it would be a meeting of members that hasn't been noticed or made available to the public, which goes against FOI regulations. So if you have comments, you could send them back to Chris. You could send them back to Chris and your chairs, just for information, and that's not a conversation. So that's what we meant.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. If that's all right, we're going to move on to Nkosi and the Events Subcommittee. You're muted.
Okay. Well, good evening, everybody. Excuse me. Briefly. All right. So we've been meeting as a event subcommittee. I guess that'd be myself, Nicole, Diana, Sarah, Tanisha, Carol, Jean. You still there, Jean? All right, as well. And so it kind of just came out of the, I guess from
I'm there, Nkosi. I'm here, buddy.
And Gertrude. And Gertrude,
thank you. Exactly. I'm trying to see faces. And I'm Gertrude. Thanks. Sorry, Gertrude. But yeah, so it just came out from our last, big group meeting that we had, and we just kind of asked if we were able to plan any, events or able to do anything. And so kind of, spontaneously, we were given the go ahead to start an events committee, and which is what we did. And, we had some hurdles, some obstacles, and some things that we were, attempting to do, but, not recognizing all the regulations or just what we were allowed and not allowed to do. And so it actually did lead to some frustration as well. But, fortunately, we were, and I can speak for myself and say I was able to overcome that. We were able to overcome that and still, able to move forward. And so one of the main things that we've been able to do as a committee as we plan the Simsbury Let's Talk discussions, and we were able to partner with the Simsbury Public Library with Lindsay. I believe that I know she's here as well. And so we've been working with the library. So we've been using, the Zoom account. And so we created the Simsbury Let's Talk just as discussions that were, focused on diversity and inclusion just within the town. And, it's been a little bit bigger than that with the people that have joined our discussion. So the first one that we held in August was on, the difference between being anti-racist and non-racist, which is based from the book by Dr. Ibram X. Kendi. And so our first discussion, we just played pretty much about a 15-minute excerpt from an interview that he did on TED Talk, if I'm not mistaken. And then it just kind of led into discussion that we had. And Tropical Storm Isaias hit a few days prior, so it definitely put a monkey wrench in our plan as far as so much of the town and surrounding town losing power, losing their internet capabilities, signals were low, and so we were pretty much on the verge of canceling our initial event, but we still, went through because we had 44 people who signed up for our initial event. And so with all the through the storm and everything, so we didn't have that many, but we still had a very productive discussion. And so it was very beneficial. It was just the dialogue was great, and people were just able to share, ideas. And it was, just an opportunity for everyone to grow. And that's the main point of why we wanted to do the Simsbury Let's Talk. It's an opportunity for us to dialogue. It's an opportunity for us to share. It's more importantly, it's an opportunity for us to grow. And so that was the first one that we did. And then the second second, and we ended up doing a part 2 for people who weren't able to join the initial one due to technical difficulties. So we did the first one August 4th, the second one we did August 25th. And then we went into Hispanic Heritage Month, and then we had another awesome, discussion about that. And I was, people that are happen to be of Puerto Rican descent, and some of their the things that they're most proud of regarding their Puerto Rican heritage, obstacles, issues that they've had in the greater Hartford area, the Simsbury, and some who lived in Simsbury. We had a teacher at Ethel Walker. We have human resource director, and that was Tom Soto, and who's served in the military for 15 years. Annalisa, who's with us now, who's a teacher. She did a tremendous amount. It was very fulfilling. A lot of knowledge came through, a lot of facts, and then just a lot of anecdotal, just a lot of people's stories, and just things that they were, what they deal with, overcome. And so it was great, because obviously these are not conversations that we have on a normal basis. And so that's what makes them very important. So again, that comes back to our title of Simsbury, Let's Talk, right? And so the next one that we have is for October 1st. And then we're going to be looking at having a discussion with individuals with, it's National Disability Awareness Month. And so Diana's leading the charge on this one, and we're looking at individuals with a variety of developmental disabilities and such. And so we're going to have another great conversation. And so we're really just stepping outside the norm, or stepping outside the box, and we're just really giving, I believe, just room for dialogue and room for growth. And so that's what we're doing with the events committee. We're trying to move full steam ahead. November, we have scheduled for Indigenous Peoples Month, and so we're looking to move into that area, and try to find some speakers or what have you. But we're just moving ahead. We have a designated topic for each month. If you give me a second, I can tell you what else we have lined up. Disability awareness, looking at housing and education, racial inequality and discrimination. Again, Indigenous people. We're co-sponsoring with the library Amanju Sani. I hope I'm saying her name right. And she has a book. She's from South Africa, Lessons from Apartheid. December is World AIDS Day, so we could go on that. January 2021, we're looking at human trafficking. Black History Month for February, National Women's History Month for March, Arab American History in April, Jewish Heritage in May, LGBTQIA Pride Month in June, and that was probably when our first one was on the bias talk that we had at the library, one of the last times we were able to meet, right, as a group. In person, and then looking into June 19th for Juneteenth Day as well. So we are trying to, we've set an agenda, and we're, definitely just trying to move forward with that. And again, as we're allowed to, everything is through Zoom. So that's how we have everything scheduled for right now. But, I encourage you, I'll give you the specific dates that we have here, but there is posted in the library. And I really encourage everyone, not just because you're Spirit Council members, but just to come in and join, because it's very fruitful, it's very productive, and it truly does allow for growth. And so we're talking about the resolutions that we're putting forth. So everything that we're doing and planning is definitely in line with the resolution that we have. So we're dealing with racism. We're trying to dispel ignorance. We're trying to dispel bias. We're trying to dispel prejudice and discrimination, and just to make us all better people. So Simsbury and the greater Hartford area, to make it a more inclusive and diverse community where all people are welcome. So I think that's about it from my point. I don't know if anyone else who's part of the, Carol, go ahead if you have something else to add about what we're doing.
It has to be said that there's a buzz about this, and I love the name Simsbury Let's Talk. It's perfect. But Nkosi's skill as a moderator in this has been, I think, a key to its success. So I just wanted to mention that, Nkosi. And the one thing that I'm hoping will happen as a result, which hasn't really, I think, gotten traction yet, is that the people who are on our panels, for instance, for the Hispanic and Disabilities panel, would contribute resources, so that there are people in Simsbury who would love to know, where can I go to learn more about this? And so my hope is that we will have a more robust, resources thing. We'll work with Lindsay on it. But I did want to mention that Nkosi is a huge part of the success of this program.
Yes, he is. Diana, do you want to say something? Or?
I just want to add that, yes, we have been extremely busy. Nkosi has been leading us with such energy and enthusiasm. It's been great. Our hope is that eventually we can get back to doing things in person, because we had some really great ideas of in-person events to do, bringing diversity and different people together and different cultures. And so I just wanted to make sure that goes on the record, that is still that is something that we had discussed and planned, and hopefully is something that we are going to be able to do in the future and we haven't forgotten about. So
very important.
And then also, if you haven't been on any of this Simsbury Let's Talk events, you really should. The speakers that we've had, it just sends chills hearing their stories. It's really, it's beautiful. It's very humanistic. It's really moving to hear their stories.
Yep. And share it with your friends, neighbors, whoever. I had my mother come last time and she never gets on Zoom. So it's, but it's been terrific.
We have space using the library. Can you hear me okay? We have 300. We have room for 300 participants on the library Zoom account, so we can handle, the traffic. So yeah, invite your neighbors, invite your friends, sons, daughters, cousins, uncles, nephews, everybody. But it's an awesome time for growth. So go for it.
Great work.
Really beneficial. It is.
A lot of great work there. Yeah. Okay, moving on to the data and audit group. Rebecca is gonna run us through what they're doing.
Well, my update is not quite as lengthy as Nkosi, so good job, events. The data subcommittee has been meeting, I would say, fervently over the last couple of months since we sort of disbanded between vacations and trying to get our footing, and really just trying to gain clarity, I think, with our group. And without rehashing the slides that some of you have already been able to review, I mean, the bulk of our work has been trying to really hone in on the kind of data this group might benefit from. So we've run into some dead ends with existing data sets, but we also have discovered existing data sets that we haven't had a chance to look into yet. We're talking through and beginning the process of developing potentially developing a townwide survey that we send out and have accessible to folks in different ways. But the bottom line is that we feel, what's so great about hearing about these events, especially going forward, is we feel strongly that whatever data we gather in order to gain a better understanding of how diversity, equity, inclusion, climate, perception, lived experience, all of that is across the town of Simsbury, is not just through numbers, but it's through the types of things that Nkosi is referencing with those Let's Talk conversations. It's being in the room with people, it's hearing their experiences, and valuing that type of what we keep calling qualitative data as much as, numbers and how satisfied are you with blah, blah, blah. So we've had a lot of conversation about what that might look like, and are starting to gain some focus. Some of our focus and next steps in terms of our group specifically will be around, being able to bring an expert or a consultant alongside on this journey, and money involved in that sort of thing. So those are kind of our next steps. Let me make sure that I also acknowledge the folks in this room that are in that subcommittee. Wendy is part of our data team, as is Chris, Gertrude. So Mary Margaret is one other person, and I'm missing Meg. Where's Meg? She's on the
she had to leave. She had another meeting.
Okay. Okay, so she's
We have
also
to
part
run
of our
curriculum
group.
night at the squadron line that
That's
I
right.
have to
She
go
told
to.
us that. She told
Yeah,
us that.
she
It
said
starts
that.
at 7. Yeah. So yeah, we're moving.
That's great.
Thanks, everybody.
Anybody else have any comments, questions about the data group?
I'll just say it's valuable, it's important, and
It is.
While you're having trouble getting your arms around it, I get it. And so I think that having the resolution in place and then being a priority for the Board of Selectmen is going to totally accelerate that work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I will say the proclamation here coming to our attention in the last really just couple of weeks has really been able to help us clarify, like, okay, so that's been a great asset for us in our work. So thanks, everybody.
Great. Okay, Lloyd is going to update us on the outreach committee.
All right. So must say kudos to the other committees for what you're doing, the events committee, and as I was listening to what you were saying, what you're doing dovetails nicely with the outreach committee. And our goal is really to promote the awareness of the Spirit Committee in the Simsbury community. And the members on the team include Cheryl, Sue Lemke, Chris Kelly, John Robichaud, and Diana Isley. And we were supposed to meet, got canceled, and I unfortunately didn't get to reschedule it. But our goal is to reach out and connect with various organizations within the community, the Chamber of Commerce, religious organizations, the Rotary Club, Realtors, the athletic leagues, Junior Women's Club, the neighborhood groups. Our goal is to connect with those groups, inform them about what the Spirit Committee is doing, and allow them to have a greater awareness so that when the events committee is doing their thing, or whenever the Spirit Committee is doing something even on a larger scale, we have access to a wider community to get involved in that. And outside of Simsbury, we're looking to partner with like the NAACP, CREC, Disability Communities, Human Rights Commission, and even the Connecticut Fair Housing Commission. So our goal is to connect with these committees, with these different groups and organizations, create awareness so that as we're doing more and creating greater awareness within Simsbury, we have more people that we're able to reach and impact. Mm-hmm. One of the things also that we're looking to do as the outreach committee is maybe the end of October or into November, is to do that racial history presentation, or to start that. We'll probably try to do one a month or on some basis to present a history of race in America and to help people understand why we're here today after all the years of efforts and progress. Why does it seem like we've made such a drastic step back? And so the racial history will give people an understanding of how we happen to be where we are today. So those are some of the things that the outreach subcommittee is looking to do and accomplish. So turn it back to you guys if you have any questions or comments.
I just want to say that Lloyd did a terrific job in March before we all had to shut down. We sent out maybe 300 letters to local organizations, and it was a great effort getting us started, and then all of a sudden everything stopped. But some of those people did show up for the implicit bias program, which was great to see. Some organizations that didn't even know what we were talking about, but actually came out to see what it was. So that was a really good first step, and that was a lot of work. Thank you, Lloyd.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's no other questions on that, we're going to turn this over to Kristen, who's going to give us some discussion, guidelines, and direction on becoming a town committee.
Thank you. Just to let you know, I have a bunch of notes around me here on my table. So if I'm looking down or moving around, I'm just trying to make sure that I cover all the points that I have prepared for you tonight. First, I wanted to just thank you all for being here tonight. It's a really good turnout, and I've really enjoyed hearing what you've been working on so far. I'm really excited about the events. I love that there's such a wide diversity in the topics, so thank you for that work. I first just wanted to share some of the benefits of becoming a town committee. I think that that's important to hear before I talk about some of the more points that might seem a little bit more difficult. And, you know, first and foremost, I think that it's really an honor to be part of a town committee. You know, you'll be part of a group that's recognized to do this super important work, and you're pioneers in this work. Other town communities are starting to think about this and starting to form committees, but really we've been working on this for a year now, and you're pioneers. And I think that people are going to be looking to you and looking to see how you are accomplishing this work. Part of being a town committee, you'll have public access. You know, your meetings are noticed on the town website, and your meetings are aired live on public TV, which is definitely a benefit. Anyone that's watching right now can hear live what you're doing and what your goals and your mission is. You have increased visibility. So you've got a lot of traction and networking abilities to help to communicate to the community who you are and what you're doing. Hopefully, once you're a town committee, we'll build a webpage just for Spirit Committee off of our Town of Simsbury Social Services webpage. There's one right now for Community for Care. So if you want to take a look at that, your page would be something similar to that. And that page would be yours, where you could post your events, your minutes will be posted, your agendas will be posted. So you'll have a lot of increased visibility and hopefully increased awareness on what it is that you're doing. You also have staff support. So, you know, I'm here tonight to support you, as well as Rachel, who's our community social worker. And you have the support of our office for your clerical needs. And we also make sure that you are compliant with FOI regulations and that everything that needs to be posted is done so on time. I think another really good piece to share with you is funding. You know, a lot of other groups that are out there are dependent on fundraisers and donations, and being a town committee opens you to the possibility of additional funding. I know Cheryl and Nicole have mentioned that they want to start working on building a budget with you. You have been invited to submit a budget request to me, which will be included in my town budget request to the town manager this coming December. I know that probably sounds like a really tight turnaround time, but don't worry, I do this every year, so we can put something together. And, you know, that wonderful banner that we had made, that was paid for from our office. So those are all just really high-level benefits of becoming a town committee. And also, I wanted to share with you the possibility of collaboration. The town of Farmington has just recently started a committee that is similar to yours and to the work that you're doing. And the town of East Granby is just starting the conversation. So there's real opportunity for having a regional effort and not just having this work done here in the town of Simsbury, but looking out into the whole Farmington Valley and how we can work together and have larger collaborative events. So I just wanted to share those points with you. On becoming a town committee, one of the things that I wanted to highlight again right now, and this is mostly because of COVID, right now we're continuing to meet in this format. Meetings are still closed to the public, but they are made available to the public through live streaming. And because of the format, it does take 2 staff to run your meeting. As you've noticed, I'm here as well as Rachel. She's doing the behind the scenes, making sure that our broadcast is live on all the correct channels. One of the things that I'm going to talk to you about tonight is the Freedom of Information Act. One of my duties is to help ensure that your group is, once it becomes a town committee, is in compliance with all Freedom of Information Act requirements. I have a document that I'll send out to you after we're formed that shows you the requirements for your committees. But just to give you a brief synopsis of what you would need to do, Regular meetings have to post a calendar a year in advance. Regular meetings have to post an agenda within 24 hours of a meeting. And at your meeting, you can add agenda items with a 2/3 majority vote. Votes have to be posted within 48 hours, and minutes have to be posted within 7 days. And then there are guidelines that are similar to that if you had a special meeting or a emergency meeting. So one of my jobs is to help to make sure that all of those requirements are met. Once Spirit Committee is officially formed and is official town committee, Spirit Committee will have to follow all of those guidelines. So your steering committee, you've already posted your calendar for the year, so we'll be able to keep that. And then we'll follow the regulations regarding agendas and minutes and votes. Subcommittees will also have to follow those guidelines. So I know that right now we had a conversation over the summer about your subcommittees because we recognized that you wanted to get to work, and you've been allowed to meet whenever worked for you and in whatever format worked for you. Once you become a formal town committee, the subcommittees will also need to follow the FOI regulations. So town subcommittee meetings will have to be, you will have to have a calendar of your meetings, and you will have to submit agendas, votes, and minutes for posting on the town website. Your steering committee will continue to be able to meet in the evening. It's our plan to support you once a month on Monday night for your meetings in whatever format that is. For as long as it continues to be Zoom, it will be Zoom. And when we can meet again in public, then we'll open up our doors and welcome everyone back. The subcommittees, one of the things that we will be asking you to do is to meet during the day. There are no town committees, boards, or commissions that have subcommittees that meet in the evening or on the weekends. They all do meet during the day. Those subcommittees will require the support of staff, and when you meet, they will need to be made public. So it would be in the same format as we have tonight, where you'd have a chairperson, and then you would have a staff member running the live TV streaming. One of the things that we will be doing next, and I'm happily going to take the lead on it for you, and I'll be working with your co-chairs and your vice chair, is to create policies and procedures. One of the things that all of our boards and commissions have in place is a set of policies and procedures, which is kind of your guidelines of how the group convenes, how the group is formed, what the outline is for the group. And in that policies and procedures, we will also develop who our membership is. One of the things that we'll be looking to the Board of Selectmen for is how they would like to appoint members. And that could be two different ways. That could either be that the group self-appoints or self-nominates members, or the Board of Selectmen might like to cast a broader net and open it to the public and accept applications. I can't project for you which way they'll go with this, but I just wanted to let you know that that's one of the things that we'll be talking with them about when we meet next Tuesday. I also wanted to share with you that I strongly anticipate the size of the official steering committee being reduced. I would say that the official steering committee probably won't be larger than possibly 10 to 14 members. So that doesn't mean that if you have been participating and you want to continue to participate, that you can't. It means that you might not be an official member, but you might be a volunteer on the steering committee or a volunteer on a subcommittee. We certainly don't want to not have any of you participate, but I wanted to make you aware that that's likely something that will happen. And let me just check my notes really quick, see what else I had for you.
One thing, Kristen, is my understanding is staff members will not count toward the membership. So if we have police representation, Sue Lemke, Lindsay Neffinger, you as our liaison, that does not count in our membership.
Correct. No, it does not count at all. And as you've probably noticed, I don't vote. We don't have the capability of voting either. So we're just kind of a silent member and helping you in your process. Correct. Let's see. And just a couple of things that I wanted to share with you. I've heard that through your budget, we might be requesting a Zoom account for you. I don't have an answer for you on that yet. I know that that was something that you have been asking for. That has to go through IT and through finance. So hopefully by the next time we meet, I can have an answer for that as well. Did I miss anything, Cheryl or Nicole? I feel like I said a lot, but I feel like I also missed something.
I don't think so. Nicole, did you think we missed anything?
I don't think we missed
I think that we're not sure about what the number of members is going to be. It's so, we just don't know yet. I think that we would like to have everybody included. I know there's somewhat of a prejudice against a big committee for several different reasons, but it doesn't mean it can't happen. We are going to talk about that with the Board of Selectmen on Tuesday. So perhaps when they hear about all of the work that we have to do, they will recognize that we need all of these people to do it. So that's my hope. The other thing
I agree with that. Yes.
Yeah.
Can I ask
while I'm saying that, I just want to leave it up to all of you. We're not saying that if you do not want to be part of a town committee, you don't have to be. This is not, an automatic. We certainly care about what your preference is. And if you don't feel like you can make that type of commitment, then just tell us. We're happy to be flexible, as Kristen said, in our roles here on the committee. But if you do decide to stay on as a steering committee member, then we hope that you will continue to do all the things that you're doing now and make that commitment to the time and the work that it's going to take to be a town committee, because we have a lot to do. And I know all of you are very serious about this work. And if you don't feel like you can do that one meeting a month plus one subcommittee meeting a month, and we would also like to discuss, once we are a town committee, having our committee members attend the meetings of other boards and commissions so that the Spirit Committee has a presence on those. So we would like to have somebody who goes to zoning meetings, who goes to planning meetings, who goes to the police commission meetings, to come back and report back to the rest of us, what are they talking about? What does it seem? Is there something that we need to comment on? Is there something we should think about working on? All of those things take time and commitment. And if you really don't feel like that's something that you want to commit to now, then just let one of us know. There's no shame in it. There's nothing, we all understand people's commitment levels, but we just don't want to, throw everybody on the committee when maybe that isn't what you were thinking you wanted to do. So that's one thing. I think we talked about earlier about preparation for meetings. That's going to become even more important now. As Kristen said, we can communicate with each other without having it be considered a meeting. It's always good to include Kristen's office in that so that she can, she knows if there's something that has to be done, she can take the lead on that. But just don't hit reply all. You can pick up the phone and talk to each other. You can always get in touch with any of us. And we just have to watch out for quorums. And we don't know what the quorum number is going to be because we don't know what the number of people is. But you can figure it out from your subcommittees. If you have 5 people on your subcommittee, 3 people is going to be a quorum, and so don't do it. But but if there's 2 of you, then go ahead. So it's not really an absolute ban on the flow of information. You just have to be careful about how it's presented. Is that right, Kristen?
Yes, it's very similar to, as your staff liaison, my being able to meet on the side with Cheryl and Nicole for the purposes of setting our agenda. But we aren't talking about a specific goal or how we're going to accomplish it. We're setting the agenda. So that's something that you could talk about amongst yourselves. Or if it was two of you talking about, I really like this goal, what do you think? You know, those are conversations, you know, and correct me if I'm wrong. I know that we have Chris Kelly on here. You know, a Board of Selectmen member can talk to another Board of Selectmen member, but it can't be a conversation with 3 or 4 people. And Cheryl, too, correct me if I'm wrong. You know, it's when you have more than the amount of people that would be a quorum for your committee. Like Cheryl said, if there's 5 of you, 3 is a quorum. If there's 3 of you in the room, it's a meeting. If 2 of you are talking, you're having a dialogue.
So,
one other thing I did notice is that, and we had talked about this a little bit, the 3 of us, the idea of subcommittees meeting in the day, I know is going to be a problem and not what we're used to. And so Kristen had thought of some ideas, and I guess it is typical for town subcommittees to not meet in the day, but we had talked about ideas like meeting prior to our Monday night meeting once a month, which would be like at 5 to 6 or 4:30 to 6.
Can you get your volume, Nicole?
yeah, Nicole, your volume must be down.
I can walk. So, let me go see if I can. Tell me if it's in yet.
That's better.
I just increased the volume on my computer, and that was helpful.
Oh, we're losing you now. Don't do that.
Better?
Go back.
No. Okay, hold on.
Go back to where you were sitting and we could just turn our volumes up.
It's not your connection, Nicole. It's your actual microphone. Like the way your microphone is picking up your voice is making it tough for us to hear you. Well, now it's your connection. But
Yeah.
it wasn't before.
It's your connection.
What about now?
It's a little better.
Comme ci, comme ça.
Yeah, just a little.
Do you have headphones, Nicole? Do you have earbuds?
I do, but they're not in.
Yeah, if you put them in, the microphone on the earbuds might pick you up better than the computer microphone.
Is it better now or no? Okay.
That's all right.
I'm gonna hurry up, put my microphone on.
Wendy, did you have a question while Nicole's walking around?
Yeah, I thought Carol had a question too.
Oh, okay.
So I'll go after Carol.
Go ahead, Carol.
I'm trying to eat my dinner. I'm so sorry. That's why I keep taking my video off. I really am hoping, and I'm going to say this, and I don't mean it in a rude fashion, that in spite of these tight regulations, that we will be able to move forward in a free exchange of ideas. And I know that I'm not supposed to reply all. I understand that. But it seems to me that and I appreciate what Kristen said, is that we have an opportunity here, right? We have an opportunity to be a town committee, which brings all sorts of benefits to us and to our agenda. And I appreciate that, and I agree with that. My concern is that we've got some traction in a couple of areas, and increasingly I would hope that it would be in many areas, and yet there seems to be, and I could be wrong, there seems to be a pulling back of what people think and their brainstorming initiatives with what we're expected to do and what we have to do to be a town committee. I don't think that those things should be mutually exclusive. It just seems to me like they are, and I don't know if anyone else has an opinion on that.
I think that we just have to be a little more careful. I mean, the reason for all these rules is so that what we do, that our process is transparent to the public. So what's important is that the members of our Simsbury community know what we're doing. And the public has a right to know. And I'm sure you all agree that sometimes that gets in the way of other information, but it's a very basic philosophy, and we do this for the sake of transparency. So I understand what you're saying, Carol, because it takes a long time to get used to how this works. But I feel like you'll probably find a way to have those conversations with other people that won't be any type of violation or problem with these regulations. We're just going to have to all kind of get used to how that process works.
And I would interject, Cheryl, and I think you've been an amazing leader on this. You and Nicole, is that when we can meet in person, right? When we can come back to, as you said, our original plan to meet face to face, that this won't be as much of in my way of thinking, it won't be as much of a problem. And I don't mean problem is the wrong word. It won't be as much of a challenge. How about that?
Right. I think you're right. I'm sure that's true. But go ahead, Chris, did you want to say something?
I wanted to jump in and just say that, yes, the COVID and the addition of the Zoom and the live streaming adds a little bit of a challenge. When we can meet in person, certainly that part will be easier. But the part about the regulations and what we have to follow, that part won't change. And the subcommittees meeting during the day, that part won't change. What I also wanted to share with you that wasn't on my notes, but that once we are formed and we do have members in place, I'll be setting up a training for all of you with our point of contact from the Freedom of Information Act Commission. And he does a really wonderful job of explaining why FOI is in place, what FOI is, and why and how you have to follow it. So I think that some of the questions that might be on your mind tonight will hopefully get answered by a true FOI expert once we know who is going to be on the steering committee and in your subcommittees. I know enough. I've been doing this for 15 years, but I'm not an expert.
Chris Kelly, did you want to jump in here? Did you want to say something?
Yeah, I think once we're comfortable that we know the discipline of the process, there's no reason that the process should slow down our decision-making or energy or ability to move forward with things. Our pace up to this date has been influenced strongly by the fact that we're just really organizing. And we had a number of things relative to the pandemic that has slowed us down. And I share what Cheryl says is this is really all the commitment and democracy that every member of the community can see the decision-making, access it, and influence it. And so that's why sometimes we can't have a private meeting, whereas we just have to take the time to have a public meeting. But we can organize ourselves and execute ourselves very quickly, even within the process of our meeting regulations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, go ahead, Diana. What did you say?
I do have a question after Wendy's because I know but I want to address Carol. Coming from another town commission, I do understand how this works. And the biggest stumbling blocks we've had recently is actually COVID and what we're allowed to do is as far as a town commission and, over Zoom. But previous to that, and even within this, we would have events and have kind of other subcommittee meetings and we never felt, I understand what you're feeling and I hear it, but I've never felt a stumbling block before in my other commission and planning events. And we have, I do have an agenda. We always have the minutes and our meetings are posted, but having little subcommittee meetings and event planning meetings, and we get a lot done. And we're, again, there's usually subcommittees that don't have or little event planning that we never have a full quorum there. So, it's an easy way around it. But I've never felt that the town was, and this freedom of information and the way that we have to go about doing things prevented us from doing any of the things that we wanted to do or stifled any progress or momentum that we had. And coming from another commission, I do understand. So I'm coming in with an understanding of how the process works. But it was already established pre-COVID. And I think coming in now with these COVID has proven some stumbling blocks for us. Once we get over those hurdles, I think we'll understand how it's not as much of a block as we think it's going to be, if that makes sense.
Yeah, go ahead, Wendy.
So I hear what everyone's saying about the need to follow those protocols on a regular basis. One of the things that I think about is that when it comes to some of the things that we're concerned about from an equity standpoint, that they're environmentally driven, they're coming from the outside. It's not everything that we're planning that might influence our desire to meet and act and have a talk or do something.
Hey, can you put a little coffee on for me, please? Oh, sorry.
That's okay. So I'm just thinking, even with the process for the proclamation, it came from this urgency that we're talking as concerned citizens that we were having after George Floyd was killed, and there was the Health Equity Solutions was putting out this call for towns to pass this proclamation. And at our last meeting, Tanisha and I remember Nkosi was feeling the urgency to do something. We want to do something. So our desire to act can also be influenced by what's going on outside and around us. And so I think that's a consideration. And I don't know if this is possible or not, but when I think about, Lloyd, what you described in terms of outreach and all the different types of organizations that we could potentially be partnering with, that when we do want to move quickly, is it possible that we can just let these other organizations take the lead? For example, the anti-racism rally that occurred, Open Door sponsored that. They pulled it off in 2 weeks. And then there was a good representation of the Spirit Council there as well. So I'm just suggesting that we just need to think more broadly, because I mean there's still a lot going on in our society that we potentially may want to be addressing immediately and not waiting for the next monthly meeting. And then so that I just want to say that, and I'm holding out the possibility that there's creativity in this as well. So the other thing that I would hope is, in whatever the process is to form the town committee, I don't know what the language is, the steering committee, that the criteria is that it's around diversity, equity, and inclusion. So that's just to hold that out front and center in terms of both the process and whether it's how people volunteer for it. And then the last thing that I want to comment on about the steering committee also participating in other town committees. I heard, Cheryl, you describe it as, people would be sitting on these committees and then reporting back. My hope here as well is that there is a potential for back and forth, that it's not a one-way thing. Using the zoning committee, as an example, I'm aware that they've been looking at their affordable housing. It's due, their affordable housing plan, and I've got behind in what they're talking about, but I guess that it's a two-way dialogue in terms of those committees being open to hearing from the Spirit Council, and even potentially as we talk about goal setting, I can anticipate the need to do joint goal setting with some of these other committees as well, if we're following the proclamation and we're really following, broadening our orientation to equity in other places. So
I think you're absolutely right with that, Wendy. And that is our intention, is to have members, attend these meetings. And then if there's something of particular urgency, if they're going to have a vote at their next meeting at the next week, then let us all know. Because regardless of whether we're a Spirit Council member, we can comment as members of the public at any time. And that is all our individual responsibility to do that. What we're hoping is that all of you will go, say, Wendy, you're assigned to zoning. So at our regular meetings, you would say, oh, these are the things that they're talking about. We should really comment on this, contact the members, do something, put everybody into action. And that's fine. And we can always talk to each other. If we want to go out and have coffee at Starbucks, we can do that. It's not like you can never talk to each other. So there's always a way to share this.
Yeah, that I wasn't talking about how we can connect with one another. I was really talking about if I'm sitting on the zoning committee meeting and they're talking about language in their plan, that I'm there able to say, well, have you thought about this?
Absolutely. And that's exactly the idea. And I'm sure when you do that, you're going to all get used to how all of these things play out in other town committees, because they have the same regulations that we do. So they have opportunities for public comment. They have, and particularly on the boards like zoning, Board of Ed, their members are listed on the town website. You can contact them. You can say, hey, I'm a member of the Spirit Council. This is very important to us, whatever it is. So that's what we're hoping to encourage, is that you pick a committee that you're interested in, have some type of a passion for the issue, and make a commitment to attending so that we can do that, so we can have that two-way dialogue. Yeah, Diana?
So I have a question that I'm hoping is not going to be an issue for us in becoming a town committee. Becoming a town committee and having, in whatever way they are appointed or nominated or whatever, the steering committee members, do they have to be residents of Simsbury? Because we have people who are part of our community of Simsbury as part of our group, but they may not reside in Simsbury, and I would hate for that to be a stumbling factor and anything that is going to be exclusive to them.
We are working on that. We've already, brought that up with the selectmen, and it has already gone to the town manager's office and the town attorney's office. So that is an issue that we have already brought up with them, and we have a couple of options that the Board of Selectmen is going to have to decide which way they want to go. So I don't really want to talk about it here because they're going to talk about it. But yes, it is an issue that we're working on.
Yeah, I was going to say same thing, Cheryl. It's something that we're aware of, something that town manager's office is aware of, and it's something that's being worked through with the legal department. By town charter, all members of boards and committees and commissions need to be a voter. So it's something that we've taken to our legal department to see if there's a way that we can work through that and potentially creating, that's another important piece about the policies and procedures, is identifying who you want your members to be, and if there's particular bodies that you might want represented in your membership. So we are trying to work through that and hoping to have an outcome that this group will be happy with, because we certainly don't want to exclude anyone that's already, a very strong member of this council.
Okay. Does anybody else have any? Oh, go ahead, Nicole. No, that wasn't Nicole.
It is Nicole, but we can't hear her.
We can't hear Nicole.
We can't hear you, Nicole.
All right, hold on. Let's see if I can.
We can hear you. We heard you throw your earbuds on the table.
I just heard you for a second. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, how about now?
We can hear you.
A little bit.
All right, well.
Just talk really loud, Nicole, like really
loud.
Yeah. Talked about the idea of subcommittees meeting only in the day, right? Can you hear me? Subcommittees in the day. But there were other ideas, because I saw people, the subcommittee chairs reacting, that we came up with, like meeting before our monthly Monday night meeting. So I think there are other options that we can find to work with the staff support we need and yet the subcommittee chair's availability with jobs. Did you hear me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're coming through now. Okay. Okay, anybody else have any other questions about the town committee status? So, I would say that if you've heard something that you just cannot live with, you don't want to move forward with being on the town committee, this would be a good time, to email us, let us know. Like I said, it's no problem. Just let us know so that we know which names to put forward to the Board of Selectmen for their October 14th meeting. If you are appointed to the town committee, there is a process by which you get sworn in. There's also a conflict form. All of that can be done virtually now, but you do have to do that before you can officially participate. And as I think Kristen mentioned it before, not being on the steering committee does not mean that you're not involved in this work. So we are completely open to having people who are, say, interested in volunteering at events or whatever that is that you would like to work on. Just you wouldn't be a member of the steering committee. And if that's something that interests you, then you should let us know that also.
I have a question.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead, Sarah.
Did you say we'd be meeting on Monday nights?
Yes.
So we'll be throwing out our old schedule. And which Monday will we meet?
Sarah, I'll send out another calendar. I'll resend the calendar to everybody. At our June meeting, we voted to switch to Monday evenings, and your next meeting will be Monday, November 2nd. So I'll resend that calendar out to everybody.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. So I know Sue Hallmark-Lemke had to leave, I believe. So maybe Nicole, if you could give us the update from the Equity Council.
Yes, Lloyd and Nkosi and I are all in the Equity Council. We meet typically the third Thursday of every month with, can you hear me, by the way?
Yes.
Okay, thank God. The work has been guided by the Connecticut Center for School Change Consulting Group. Up until now, we have developed an equity stance, which will be the filter through which all the curriculum and climate changes are evaluated for the school district. It was approved by the Board of Selectmen this summer. This past meeting was a really breakthrough meeting where Sue Lemke, who leads it, had just the members participate and not the consultants, because we wanted to just stop and take a pulse on some of the climate data that we were seeing for the first time. She's not interested in sharing it beyond the group right now, but there are issues that come out of the climate data that need to be addressed, and she's rolling her sleeves up and we're getting to work on it together. And this committee is made up of teachers, principals, superintendents, students, parents. I don't know if I'm forgetting anybody. Nkosi, did you say something?
Pastors.
Pastors, yes. Youth pastors. Yep. And so it's hard conversations and honest work, and we've decided to increase the frequency of our meeting to get more progress made. So we're going to have subcommittees form and meet in between all the big meetings to keep the work, to accelerate the work now that we've got the framework set. I think everyone is definitely committed to it. I think the students, some of them need to be replaced because some graduated, but we're hopeful, and it's dealing with real life stuff, and it's going to be systemic and not just frosting on the top. We have the right players in mind in participating. So, Nkosi and Lloyd, did you have anything else to add to that?
Diana did have her hand up, so I don't know if Diana wanted to say something.
I have a question after you're done giving your full input. So,
Well, I guess in just the regards from with our last meeting, I think just probably in the same way with our committee, with the council, the Spirit Council, that, just picking up a lot of traction. And, it's great conversations. We're looking at data. And, and I think one of the great things about the Equity Council is the student input. And so we get to have things from a ground level and how they see things going through the high school and what they want to see. So it's quite, it's awesome in that fact that we have all these different perspectives. But I think the most important one with the Equity Council is that there's students there as well. And so they're pretty much, driving force with the council. So he said we just saw some data and it kind of kicked up the urgency of the Equity Council. And so I think there's a strong desire, to move forward, and it picked up a lot of momentum. So, I did be hearing a lot. There was the I don't know her name off the top of my head, of the vice principal, who's a Black woman that's been hired at Simsbury High School. So that was something I was definitely discussed.
Vanessa Messiah.
What's her name?
Vanessa Messiah.
Thank you. And so, yeah, and just, and things like that, and that just, a ball is moving forward in a variety of different compartments, and progress is being made. So whether it's through the Spirit Council, whether it's through the Equity Council, we're just looking at progress, and it is very, it's fulfilling, and it feels good to, when you're being a part of something. So whether we're talking about equity or Spirit Council, there's a lot of good things that are happening. And so it's very, very beneficial for all parties involved. So I'll say that.
I think you guys covered it well. Thank you.
Go ahead, Diana.
So that leads me to the question of where does the Equity Council fit in to our group if we become a town committee?
It doesn't. They are a separate group run by the Board of Education, I think. They're under a separate umbrella. So they don't function as a town committee at all. They are a creation of the Board of Education. So not at all, except for our liaisoning back and forth.
Okay. So we would still have a liaison on our committee, and maybe vice versa. So it would.
Right. Well, we have Sue Lemke, who does both. So she has done that liaison work from the very beginning.
Right. Okay.
And as you saw, we have members here who are members of both also. So
could we then, since it is its own separate entity, even though we have Sue as the school representative, and we may have members who are also part of that committee, could we potentially have a student liaison? I know in other commissions and committees, sometimes they have a student liaison reporting back. Is that something that could be possible for if we become a town committee, that we could have a liaison from the high school on our committee? Okay.
It's one of the things as we move forward to discuss our policies and procedures. Those categories of members are going to become more important, particularly for who our members are. So we may want, an open choice parent. We may want a student member. And so by slotting certain seats to certain categories of people, I think we're going to fill some of those needs. That's my hope.
But Diana, to answer your question specifically about the same student being on both, we run into problems with just their time availability.
Yeah.
So probably they won't double duty, whereas maybe some of us adults will double duty. But yes, to having students on both.
Great. Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions for Equity Council? Okay. All right. Lindsay, are you still here? Yes, you're here. Can you give us a little update on what's going on with the library and the programming and stuff? You've done such great stuff there.
Sure thing. Just a quick intro. My name is Lindsay Neffinger, and I'm one of the adult services librarians. And I've been working with the Spirits Council since about July to handle much of the programming. Nkosi had gone over the majority of the pieces we've done. We've held 3 events, 2 in August, 1 in September, and we have at least 4 more scheduled for this year. We have 2 in October, 2 in November, and 1 in December. So that's actually 5. I've been primarily working with Nicole and Nkosi and the other members of the events sort of subgroup that you have on Spirit Council, and there's lots of good exchanges of ideas and future partnerships that's been discussed, and the use of the Zoom has been very helpful. We did just recently get a second account at the library for programming to make sure that we can take advantage of this as much as we need to, especially since it looks like virtual programming will be here for a little bit.
Yeah. Lindsay, I have a question about the library. We had discussed, I don't know, it was a long time ago, it seems like it now, about having book recommendations, perhaps a reading list that's related to the Spirit Council. Do you know if there's any movement on that, if we can move that idea forward?
So the original list that had been put together has taken a sort of mini backseat for the moment, but if we want to make that more official, it could be ready to move that piece. The only thing I would want to mention about that, probably it's a living document, so it would change as we add pieces to it.
Yes, absolutely. I'm hoping that maybe some of our members might want to volunteer to sort of monitor that so that we can make sure that recommendations from the Spirit Council, get to the library, and that we share that like on our Facebook page and
sure,
with the public in general. It seems like something people are very interested in now. And I saw the library is starting to reopen for in-person visits again now, which is awesome.
Yep, in a couple weeks we'll be open 2.5 days a week.
That's great.
Yep.
Anything else from the library we need to know, or?
Not off the top of my hand. We have a program that's coming up at the end of the month that's about understanding gender. So that may be of interest to some members of the council or community members. The other piece I want to mention about the resource list, that it's not just books. So there's articles, there's videos to watch, podcasts to listen to. So it does cover different formats.
Great.
The last thing I'll say, but I see Kristen's hand up, so I want her to speak, is there's a group going on Monday nights now through the library, through Holding the Door Open, which is fabulous. I'm a part of. It's the 1619 project and the podcast, and it's 1 week is each episode, and there's five episodes, and it's been fabulous discussion. And like everybody else who participated, I went and had to binge listen to all the rest of them after the first week because it's really well done. So I highly recommend. Free and open to the public.
Yep, absolutely.
Kristen.
Great. Kristen, did you want to say something? I lost her.
Muted.
Okay, all right, sorry.
Oh.
I was getting late. Sorry, I forgot to unmute myself. I just wanted to remember to share the idea that we had talked about with the possibility of holding a virtual book event. And I wanted to share that with the events committee. Our office has several grant revenues, and we frequently use grant funding to purchase books, especially if it's in relation to our youth. So if there was a book that covered this subject area and was connected back to the health and well-being of our youth, we could definitely sponsor the purchase of books, and we could hold a virtual book club event. Just as an aside, last night, Promise to Jordan held a virtual book club event, and that was fully sponsored by Simsbury Social Services, and we purchased 30 books for the community, and it went very well. So I would really enjoy doing that with you.
That's a great.
That sounds amazing.
What book did they read, Kristen?
Oh, it was really good. We read Guts by Kristen Johnston. She's the female star from Third Rock from the Sun, and she shared her battle with addiction.
Thank you.
There is a plethora of teen materials out there that are equally popular with adults and teens to read. So there could be a crossover piece to that as well.
Mm-hmm. That's a great idea.
I wonder if the events, what we're doing with the events in our Let's Talk series, and that perhaps and it may be too late for this one coming up, but for future ones, that we have an associated resource book or video list to go along with our topic of the month, that the library can either, have books available or list the books that, they have, and we can publish the list that goes along with it, so books on various disabilities, for this week, this week coming up, for next month. So that may be a way to further our mission and outreach and have further discussions as things go on. Let us know.
We can do it.
Yeah.
We did that with Community for Care. We had a young author who wrote a book about her eating disorders, and then did a program with her and a pediatrician and the therapist, talking about that. And it was a great tie-in for that type of information. So I think that's a really good format. Okay.
Yep.
Anybody else have any other new business, old business you'd like to discuss while we're all here? Okay. Hearing none. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Is there a second? Nkosi, second.
Second.
All in favor?
Bye.
We are adjourned. Thanks, everybody. It's nice
you.
seeing your faces.